First of all, thank you for taking time out of your crazy busy day to be on Can't Shovel Hurricanes.
I'm so excited.
I'm beyond grateful and psyched to have you on. You've like slowly the entire family is going to end up at your fitness studio, which is like, you know, it's like the hallmark of Florida and athletics and professional athletics. But you don't look at people that are pros or, you know, I've even seen like young kids. You treat them the same way.
Oh, absolutely. I have Michael Froelich in the gym right now, and he's training with 14-year-old kids as well. You know,
do they have any issues with that, like the progress?
Absolutely not. You know, I tell them, look, you know, they know how I roll, so they know what to do themselves. You know, you do you, I do what I do, let everybody else do what they do, you know, and just focus on your game, you know, stay in your lane, and we'll get it done. So look, he's actually one of the easiest people I've ever worked with.
Really? What's the most difficult one?
I can't say that.
I'm not talking about like personality. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with people that are at the highest level but have been training, you know, maybe I don't even want to use the wrong way, but in a way that wasn't as effective for them optimal condition.
Right.
And you've probably had athletes that have pushed back on you and say, well, you know, I'm doing things this way or not. What do you do when you encounter that sort of stuff?
You know, it's interesting because I'm actually thinking about somebody right now who kind of gave me a little pushback like that. You know, I typically kind of, you know, in the beginning, you know, say, hey, you know, what do we want to achieve this summer? Okay, you know, hey, how's your injury that you had before? And I've had some of them like, you know, like, what injury? You know, like, I'm like, you know what I'm talking about, you know. But it's kind of cool because they almost want to have that personality of like, I have no injuries. You know, I didn't have an injury. You know, I may have had like a little, you know, stumble. And I'm moving forward, you know, which is cool. But, you know, me as your fitness coach, we got to talk about that stuff because I don't want to bring back, you know, create something that, you know, may be dormant now, you know, because of the things that we do in the gym. You know, I need to know, you know, hey, where do we stand exactly with your Achilles or your knee or your hip or whichever, you know, because, you know, there's certain things that I'm going to need to pivot with in order to make sure that you're good to go.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I could see why they'd be afraid to talk about their injuries because their livelihood depends on their body and their athletics. But right. I didn't even get a chance to properly introduce you. It's Manny Mair, but AKA Manny. I don't know any other way but Manny.
Yeah, Manny the Marine, you know, all kinds of stuff.
So let me tell you how your name came up. I'm walking my dog. We just moved into South Florida, and one of my neighbors happens to be Radek Dvorak.
Yes. Oh, I love him.
Yeah, so Radek and me, we got to talking. My son plays hockey. Radek is involved with the Boca Ice Kings.
Right.
His son plays for the Boca Ice Kings, and as we're walking, we start chatting, and he starts telling me all this stuff. And probably within the first 20 minutes of our conversation, we're chatting about all this stuff. I said, so where do you do your dry land and stuff like that? And he's like, Manny.
Yeah.
And he starts tagging. He's like, he's a soldier or an ex-soldier. I don't know if
Marine.
Marine. All right. And that, you know, that's how he started to explain things to me. And I'm like, oh my God, you know who this would be perfect for? My nephew, because outside of the fitness journey, there's a psychological impact that is equally or even more important to a lot of athletes because that's their biggest barrier. Now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. And then I go for a skate with my son at Boca Ice, and I meet Anders Eriksson, who was on the podcast. He mentions your name as well. He's also a former NHL guy.
Right.
And I heard your name multiple times.
Nice.
And then I'll swear, I actually was like on Radek. I was probably on him for months to try to get your contact because he kept forgetting or something or whatever. And then long story short, we kind of get here and my nephew starts to train with you.
Yeah.
But how did you get into fitness?
You know, it's something that I have a brother who's 9 years older than me, and he always kind of drove that into not just my body, but into my mind, you know, growing up as a kid. And I remember times, you know, going to the store with him in New York, and I'm 5 years old, and he's getting me ready for the Bronx Zoo Kids Marathon. You know, it's like a 1 mile run, you know, that they have with the marathon. And he's got me running in front of him like about 40 yards. I'm 5 years old. you know, and then I come back down and I make a lap around behind him, and you know, it's just, you know, making me do my push-ups and pull-ups.
At 5.
Yeah, man. He's 9 years older than me, so yeah, he established that, like, you know, really early.
So are you from New York?
No, I'm originally from Jamaica.
And when did you move?
So we moved here when I was 5 years old, and we moved back to Jamaica, and then we moved back again when I was 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where in Jamaica?
Montego Bay.
Probably a tough place to leave.
I mean, I don't really have that much, you know, memory of it to be concerned of whether or not leaving it was a big deal or not. You know, probably more so for him, you know, being on the beach with his friends and things like that. But at 5 years old, I mean, you know, you could put me anywhere.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, Jamaica is probably a tough place to leave. I mean, I guess it's not all tourist hotspots like, you know, the rest of us know as well.
Right, right.
So you moved to New York, or did you move right to Florida?
New York.
New York. How long were you there?
9 years. Yeah, I moved to Florida when I was about 14 years old.
All right. Did you move the entire family or just you solo?
Oh, no, the entire family came.
Are they still here?
So my brother, he's back in Jamaica, and my sister's in Texas, and another brother, he's in Orlando.
Oh, so there's 4 of you.
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you fall? You're the middle?
I'm the baby.
Are you?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm almost like, wow, I didn't even realize we're going to go into that tangent. So your family's here in Florida.
Yeah.
And then you enlisted. You became a Marine.
Yes.
What was that journey like, and why did you decide to take that path?
Oh, you know, it's amazing. I originally wanted to become a firefighter, and I took a test with Delray Beach Fire Department. They had this thing called like Firefighters Olympics, where all the firefighters from all over the nation would come there and compete against each other. And they said over 1,000 people took this test. So I was always very good at math and like figuring things out. And they said I scored in the top 10. Wow. This is at 18 years old. And, you know, it's the firefighters from all over the nation who want to move to Florida. They're all taking the test and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a whole bunch of questions where if the train is traveling such and such miles per hour,
right, and,
you know, going to such and such destination, things like that. You know, figuring these things out, you know, I'm really good at figuring these things out in my head. And they said I scored in the top 10, so they brought me in for a test. And they said, look, we really like you a lot, okay, but you're kind of young for
18 years old.
Yeah. We can't discriminate against your age, but we can say that we want, you know, like job experience, school, military, things like that. So they actually suggested, why don't you join the military, you know, and then come back to us. So that's how I joined the Marines.
Wow. Where were you stationed?
So I with Anglico, it's a paratrooper company.
Okay.
So it's called 4th Anglico. So I actually ended up joining the reserves. But right when I graduated boot camp from Paris Island, that's when Desert Storm started. So it's like, okay, oh, this is real now.
Real. So
Yeah.
did you go over?
No. So, you know, guys from my unit started going, and it's kind of interesting that the first day I showed up with my unit, they had a 4-mile run to see who gets to go to jump school. Because we, in the Marines, we go to an Army jump school, okay? Because, I mean, the Marine Corps is not as big as the other branches and stuff. So, you know, we utilize certain schools that they have, that the other branches have, instead of having it for ourselves. And so the Marines, they like to make sure they send the cream of the crop, you know, out there. So I beat my entire company by a 1/4 mile in a 4-mile run. So I go across the finish line. It's my first day there. And first sergeant's like, Marine, do you have quotas to go to jump school? And I was like, no, sir. And he's like, you got them now. And I was like, huh? I'm roll up there and I'm going to be jumping out of an airplane, you know, right away and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
Did you actually end up doing that jump?
Oh, yeah. So
you did jumps?
When I went to, when it was time for me to go, that's when they kind of opened up the floodgates to just kind of send, you know, everybody just started going in. And I remember we had one jump, and then that's when the ground war started, and they brought us into a room like, hey, we got to get all your paperwork in order because you guys are going over, and sign all your wills and everything and stuff like that. But we got to give you at least another 2 more jumps to make sure that you're, you know, you got this thing down pat. We're supposed to have 5 jumps. So they were like, okay, we can get away with like, I think it was like 2 or 3 jumps. And but by the time we got our next 2 jumps in, the ground war was over. So
what was the first one like? Like the first jump, what did that feel like?
It was wild. I got to tell you, I'm not
scared?
I'm not very fond of heights, so I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be pretty crazy, but it was actually kind of like nothing. You know,
No, come on.
I got, it's the wildest thing. It got to the point where, being in my unit, like kind of being like the fittest guy in my entire company, I'd be able to tell the jump master, hey, can I go first? And he's like, yeah, and put me up in front of the line, and I would actually end up standing in the door, like, yeah, as we're, counting down, getting ready to jump, or just being the first one to walk right out the back of C-130. And it was pretty cool. It's like one of my clients, he owned an airline, and I was like, Big Dave, how does this happen, man? I'm not, you bring me like on 7 stories up, and I'm like, whoa, I don't want to have anything to do with the balcony. Okay?
Right.
But you put me in an airplane or a helicopter, 1,200 feet up, and, and I'm fine with just kind of hanging out right there. And then Jump Master says, go, and I go. I have no problem whatsoever. So he says, okay, when you're moving, your body can't really judge how far you can fall, as opposed to when you're like standing on a balcony, you can like legit figure out, okay, wow.
Oh, I
yeah.
never think about it. I'm also never going to find out.
Right. What else I thought? There was like, wow. Whenever I put my, my uniform on, I don't know, I feel like I'm just down for anything. It's just like, I just want to run through a wall. And so I always wonder if that was the case as well. Like, maybe I just kind of flip a switch, and it's like, let's go. Doesn't matter what we got to do. Let's go. So I always just wonder if, like, standing on the balconies, do I have to be out here? No.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Now when you pack a parachute on my back and you tell me, hey,
Fight for your country.
yeah,
Does the chute get pulled for you, or do you have to pull it?
it gets pulled for us. So it's a static line.
All right. Yeah. So I think they hook you up, you jump out, and then boom, and then it gets pulled for you. What's that like when you're just hanging on by this, half balloon, going down, watching the entire world below you? What's that like?
Well, you got to figure it's, we're training for combat jumps. So we're not going to jump from like 30,000 feet.
All right.
We're jumping from like 1,200 feet. So you're talking about that's 4 football fields, in combat, they say you'll jump as low as like even 500 feet. So you're talking about not even 2 football fields. So it's like if you have an issue with your parachute, you don't even have time to like even pull your reserve. So it's pretty cool. You just jump out, you tuck yourself, into like an L position, put your hand around your reserve, and then boom, it opens up, and then you check your parachute, making sure there's no holes any bigger than a nickel. And
I should have worn a diaper for this podcast, and just the thought of it scares me.
Well, it's pretty wild because you have a forward motion of 13 miles per hour. Okay, so Jump Master lets you know how fast the wind is. Okay, and they usually have some sort of smoke on the ground, so you can kind of see which direction the wind is going in. And you got to make sure that if, like he says, you got 9 mile per hour wind, you got to turn into the wind. So now that makes you a forward motion of 4 miles per hour. Okay. Whereas if you turn away from the wind, now you're a forward motion of 22 miles per hour. Right. So when you hit the ground, it's not going to be nice.
No, man, that's definitely. Would you say that experience shaped what it is that you're doing today? In obviously for the positive, but I mean, do you think that you would be as successful at what you do now if you didn't have that military background?
Going in prior to, I kind of feel like this was who I was to begin with, so, even while I was in the Marines, I always kind of just stepped up and always like volunteered for things. I just, my brother, he was always my biggest fan, and he always told me certain things that resonated as I got older, that basically, hey, somebody's got to be number one, so why not let it be you? That's the way I kind of like processed it after a while. And, in boot camp, when I realized, okay, I'm a pretty fit dude, I'm out here running with these guys, and I'm like crushing everybody. I'm like, I get on a pull-up bar, I'm like crushing everybody. we put the boxing gloves on or the bugle sticks or whichever and stuff, and we're going at it with each other. And I'm like, well, okay, I can see where this can go. And so that kind of like gave me a lot of confidence to be able to realize that, wow, for lack of better terms, I'm not some chump, Right. I can make stuff happen, So that was pretty cool. And then, coming out, everybody in my community either knows me as Manny or Manny the Marine, because of other things that I do as well with a nonprofit that I have. But
is that why you make people wear red on Fridays when they exercise?
Yeah. So it's called Red Shirt Friday.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So red stands for Remember Everyone Deployed Until They Come Home. So it's kind of whack because in my community everyone has an excuse of, oh, Lululemon doesn't make red, and I'm like, you realize that Lululemon wouldn't exist, okay, if it wasn't because of our active duty soldiers and our veterans, who have basically given their life, for you. And I'm like, you're gonna give me that excuse? So I try to tone it down and keep myself calm when people make comments like that, because it does get me fired up inside.
I know that my wife first Friday didn't know about the red. She came back and said, I need to wear red. And Manny said, you didn't get the memo? It's like, what memo? What are you talking about? Right? So she felt a little embarrassed about that.
Yeah, well, that's actually my fault. Usually I make a joke and I'll say, like, if one of the coach's clients don't wear red, the coach has to do 50 push-ups. And it was a thing for a while to try and get our clients to wear red, to hopefully make them feel as though, they didn't want to have their coach punished. And I would drop down myself, and if one of my clients didn't wear red, I'd drop down and do 50 push-ups right then and there, and then get back up and let's go. So it became a thing, like I said, for a while. Some coaches would have like 300 push-ups to do at the end of the day. So I'll take that one,
Tell me something. You train everybody from, I've seen kids, like I think almost as young as 8 or something like that in your studio, all the way to the most elite athletes at the top of their game, regardless of whether it's NFL, whether it's baseball, whether it's the NHL. I read the bios. I've now had multiple conversations with you. I've had multiple conversations with my nephew that was training with you. Is there an age, first of all, that's too old to work out at that intensity, or do you tailor make your workout schedule to the individual?
Right. So first of all, I look at everyone as an athlete. Everybody. Okay.
Everyone, even me, if I were to jump into your studio.
Dude, you're a freaking athlete, bro. You're a beast. Okay. You got that beast within that's just waiting to come out, man.
I'm actually scared to come to your studio. It's not a joke between hearing my nephew and now my wife, because I've had all these injuries and stuff like that I was doing PT in your studio today.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid. I don't run. My cardio is weak. I know you make people push cars.
Man, you should be afraid of not coming.
Yeah, I don't think I can handle it. I'll probably end up.
You should be afraid of not coming.
I legit am scared. I'm transparent, and I've been in the gym my entire life.
If you respect me, then you'll just like come on in.
I have more respect for you in a short time that I met you than virtually 99% of the world. And I'm not just saying that. I'm saying that because I see what you did for. I mentioned my nephew several times now, and for people in the podcast that haven't heard, he's a kid in the OHL who's seen some adversity in his own personal life. Mom had a battle with cancer. Thank God she's good. Losing a year to COVID and then taking an ACL injury that took him out for a year, and then comes back to brand new philosophy, brand new coach, and he was kind of like down on himself, and then he decided. We as a family that we have this platform here in Florida, and everybody kept mentioning your name, as I said earlier. And I said, why don't you try to start up a Manny? And very, very quickly, I see how you took this kid and did you change his body? Oh my God. Like really, there's some before and after pictures. Like it's, oh my God. But what you did to his psychology was like, you didn't treat him as just another person working out in your gym. You treated him like a son. You treated him with accurate, tough love.
Yeah.
That, for someone on your stature and a business owner is so busy, and to still be able to cater to the individual speaks volumes about your character. And that's just incredible. I don't know how you do it. I've seen how you run around in the gym. But like, in terms of respect, you've definitely earned his. And he's exercised and been at the most elite, gyms when it comes to the hockey space. I have never seen him have the same outcomes and engage with anybody, notwithstanding the fact that it was like 3 months with you, even a bit less. But
I think it was like 6 weeks.
No. It was at least for sure 6 weeks. It might have been 9, but like,
really?
Because there was a bit of a lead up. He was there as well, so maybe not the whole time at the gym, but he was consistent.
Yeah,
and he was on point and used to make.
Oh yeah,
and you were on top on asking about his meal schedule and asking, staying on top of it. I don't know how you do it, bro. I really don't know, but you do it. So
it's a grind. I'm not gonna lie. I grind until like I fall asleep with my phone in my hand, leaving messages for people. It's crazy.
Do you take any days off?
There's no days off.
Do you work 7 days a week?
Right now, yes, because I'm renovating the facility and stuff. So I'd use the weekends to catch up on emails and text messages and stuff like that.
You need an administrator.
I need a whole lot of stuff.
You need a team. You need an army.
Yes.
Talk to me about one-to-one.
Well, I want to throw something at you. You asked me a question earlier.
Please, I know. Okay. I go. It's my mind. It just goes.
Your nephew's probably going to hear this podcast, so.
You better believe he's going to hear this podcast, and so is everyone that he's connected to.
So what was interesting, you asked me a question earlier as to like who was probably one of the most difficult people that you worked with. And honestly, it was probably your nephew.
Really? I could see that.
In the beginning, yeah. Hands down. I have this thing that I tell everybody, I said I worked with Luongo for 16 years of his career. And I cannot recall Luongo ever questioning anything I asked him to do, ever having a debate with me. Just any discussion. I tell Luongo, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And it's like, done. It's just absolutely no, I want you to eat this, I want you to do this, do that, done. During the season, I want you to change what you're doing, in between periods, and this is what I want you to do. Done. No question about it. He just does it. And I'm saying to myself, your nephew, Jesse, I mean, from the start, okay, it took me like a couple of days. I said, let me just kind of observe, So I'm asking him to do certain things, and it's just a lot of pushback, a lot of pushback. And I'm like, all right, let me give him a few more days. And then I'm like, okay, I got this, all right? I see what's going on here. And I just stood my ground, with him. And I explained to him, I says, I don't want to hear you speak or say anything to me negatively unless there's actually an injury going on, or if you feel like you're going to hurt yourself, then you can basically speak to me, okay? Other than that, I don't want to hear you open your mouth, okay, with any negativity. It is only positivity, okay? I just, got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to hear it, okay? If you have an issue, then go sit down, pretty much, and then obviously he started to kind of like realize what's going on here. And then not only that, we started to get some results, with his speed training, his strength, all this stuff. It just started to morph a bit. And he saw where he was getting leaner. And then there was a time when he was just on the ice every single day.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to stop that. You can't be on the ice every single day and then come in here and train with me for 2 hours. Okay, now you're going to definitely get hurt because you're just tearing down the body. And that's what I told him, that he needs to tell you that he needs to back off the ice and focus on what I'm doing with him. Because what I'm doing with him is going to make him better on the ice.
Yes.
Give me an opportunity to do my thing, even just for a few weeks. Get him better condition, get him stronger, get him faster, get him, just feeling better about himself. And then we put him back on the ice. So Yeah.
I don't want to defend him because I agree with you 100%. There's nothing to defend.
No, there's no reason.
That pushback is a culmination of a number of years for an individual who knew nothing but family strife, and in a couple of years has seen, the loss of my father, which was a very huge figure in his life, his mom going through a battle, his own injury, watching people on TV getting drafted that, he believes he could be that or better. And, the COVID year, and so much has happened in such a very influential time in his life that he developed this kind of like demeanor that he was defending his inner ego, and the speed with which you were able to break that down because you took the time, now I understand, to observe and then say, all right, I got this. I understand what's going on here. And the version that he is today is totally different. I mean, it's just physically and mentally, but it's between the ears, right? The kid that got drafted when he got into the OHL, on the ice was any athlete that's really good at what they do has their own personal swagger. Now, people conflate that sometimes with arrogance, but it's not. It's earned swagger because of all the work they put in before you see that final product of competition, right? That's just the peak. It's not actually, and all that work that they've done, I've seen. And these kids, any sport, especially at the amateur level going up, have sacrificed so much. And I hesitate sometimes to use the word sacrifice. I just can't think of a better one. But like when people are partying and staying late and having their weekends and nights and all that stuff, they're training. They're focusing on their craft. They're focusing on their future. They've given up a lot of things that other people take for granted on a day-to-day basis. And on top of that, they still have school and all this other stuff that happens. So they don't see that. So I get, it was incredible to see that metamorphosis of his. He's a very bright, super talented kid and was getting in his own way, which is why we wanted to bring him down. Yeah. Because the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And that's what he was doing. And he was constantly surrounded by the people that reminded him of all the things that didn't work out for him. Yeah. And then he steps out, he comes to your place, which was like, by week 3, he was an addict. Yeah. Because he was seeing the results. That endorphin, you're like a drug dealer when it comes to endorphins. Like they were pumping. He sees the results, and then he starts saying exactly what you said. He gets on the ice, he's like, I don't think about my knee anymore. Yeah. Because whether it was real or not, because psychologically I was still weary about it. Now I'm playing unhinged. Like I'm just playing, right? And that is a skill. That explains why your studio is full and all these athletes are coming to you. Do you find that the majority of the athletes are now, it's kind of word of mouth, they're talking about it? And I have to tell you something else. If anyone's ever heard the Wongo's Hall of Fame acceptance speech, I think it was the Manny one-on-one fitness acceptance speech, because he was just talking about you and pushing your truck and how much you put him through. And, this is a Hall of Fame goal.
Yeah. It was, oh my God, it was a great, amazing experience for him. But, to touch on with Jesse for a second, it was pretty cool. I started to I got stuff going on in my head. I'm like constantly observing what's going on around me. And I'm figuring out.
What'd you see?
So with Jesse, after a couple weeks, after about 3 weeks, when I started to feel like I got his attention, still a little bit of a pushback with him with certain things and stuff like that. Still kind of a little bit negative with certain things. So what I started doing was I started connecting with him. Like if I'm teaming somebody up, I connect him with this one 14-year-old named Ethan. And so I was like, okay, Jesse, I need you to make sure Ethan, blah, 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 blah. So I turned him into a role model with Ethan. And and I'm like watching him out of the corner of my eye, and he's explaining to Ethan what to do and this and that, and I'm like, all right, cool, I got you now. You don't even know it. And so it's like all these like little different things people don't realize, the psychology behind what I'm observing and what I'm like my plans are and what I see, what clicks and stuff like that. And then now I'm like, all right, okay, we're gonna go full force with this. And the last couple of weeks, it was just constant celebrations with him, with the speed training. I got him outside with a bunch of guys his age, another NHL guy and stuff like that.
You were saying he was beating them off the line.
Yeah, oh yeah. But in the beginning, he wasn't, and I made sure I celebrated that, and like sometimes I started having him be the example. I'm like, hey, Jesse, show everybody, get into a 3-point stance for me right now, and let's, show him proper technique and stuff like that. So I know that when I tell him stuff like that, it's going to make him perform his best. And then I finally got him to stay in his own freaking lane. All right, because that's where everybody worries about the person to the left of them or right limb. I'm like, put the blinders on, stay in your own daggone lane, because you're not going to beat the person to your left of you or to the right of you if they're faster than you, unless you run your perfect race. And you got to hope that they don't have their perfect race. I like to, I do a lot of competitions myself, and I come out there and everybody's like, oh, big Manny, this and that. Like, oh, like, I'm the nicest guy, because it doesn't matter what happens that day. It doesn't matter what my attitude is. It's what the work was that I did prior to that day. Right. And nobody knows the work that I'm doing. When you're sleeping, I'm working.
Literally.
Oh yeah. I never want to show up to anything unprepared. No matter how busy you see me in the gym and stuff like that. If I got a competition coming up, I'm going to get that work done regardless.
How do you squeeze all that in? Because your studio is slammed. Yeah, I mean, you got a good team around you. I see you've got a lot of people whose livelihood depends on your ability to be able to train them. I mean, professional athletes. Yeah. I mean, that's like the pinnacle of everything, right? And it's very demanding. How do you do it, man? How do you manage your own life like that?
Well, I plan things out. I kind of know what my schedule. I know when these guys are going to go back to their teams, stuff like that. So if I have something big that I want to do, I might plan it for like 5 weeks after I know everyone's gone. So I give myself a good 4 or 5 weeks to train. I just.
Do you enjoy the training?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do? You enjoy the pain?
Yeah, I embrace it, man.
I think that's where the trick lies.
Yeah, because that's when you know you're growing.
The Goggins mentality. You want to be in the suck.
Everybody calls me like the clean version of Goggins.
Yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. I mean, I looked at like just some of the stuff that you have on the site.
Yeah.
And it's like accolades and competition, and you could see it on you physically. But what people don't realize until they look you in the eye, which is when you ask me about the podcast, is it in person or is it I only do things in person?
Yeah.
You are the way you are now all the time. You're positive. Yeah. You're smiling a lot. Sometimes I can't tell whether you're angry or smiling. I also can't tell whether you're 20 or 50. Like I don't know that, like because you take care of yourself, right? Yeah. But you don't just take care of your body. You take care of your mind. And I'm assuming nutrition makes a big part of what it is.
That's my first thing right there is nutrition.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think this month has been an awakening for me. And my body is breaking down because of my mind and stress and some of the stuff that we talked about, offline. But, and like I said, I'm scared to come to your studio, but I think it's something I need to overcome. I'm just afraid physically I won't be able to make it because I need to be around for my kids. Like, I want to be the dad who's still running and skating and driving and doing all that stuff with my kids, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. I swear to God, that if I had one thing that I wanted on my deathbed, I want, if I had to pick one thing, I would say that I want my kids to know that I love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything. They just have to exist to be that way. But I also want to be able to be there for them physically and mentally and impart even the mistakes I made so they don't do the same thing. Right. But my body is something and my physique is something that I have struggled with my whole life. I mean, I look back at pictures of myself where I was like skinny and strong and I used to think I was fat. I thought I was fat my whole life.
Yeah.
Now I'm fat. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, fat is relative, but I'm not where I want to be. You know what I mean? Because I think everybody has that body issue, for themselves. But I see what you did to my nephew. I see what you're doing to my wife. I see what you've done to the people around you. And the body is one thing, but the mind is another. And I'm scared of you. Legit scared of you.
Let me tell you something. It's kind of interesting. You brought up the whole, wanting to be able to play sports with your kids and stuff. Because someone like yourself or, just anyone in general, any man or woman that I meet, I'm like, hey, do you have kids? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, how old are your kids? And they tell me how old they are. And if they're like younger kids, I'm like, all right, you tell me your goals. And I'm like, I got goals for you as well. So I'm saying to myself, all right, okay, so you're a husband, you got a wife, you got kids and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I want you to be able to play basketball with your kids. I want you to be able to, do things with your kids and not hurt yourself. I want you to be able to also defend yourself. I'm like, hey, how do you feel about guns and stuff like that? How do you feel about, if
you train people with firearms?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dude, all right, well, we should have started with that because I want to learn. I'm not allowed to own a firearm yet in the United States because I have a visa, but that's a conversation that we're definitely going to have.
Yeah, so that's kind of stuff I like to do. I do something called tactical games, which basically is working out and shooting.
Get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
At the studio?
Well, no, I compete in tactical games.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
And it's something that you train as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. My God.
But I wanted to tell you a story about Luongo. So, I worked with him for 16 years.
Does he still work out with you?
No, he says, he's done with me. He says,
No,
I never
want to
see you again.
Really? All right.
No, I mean, it's a joke, but he legit says, I don't want to train with you anymore. He says,
16 years is a long time.
Yeah. But, what was kind of funny is like, when Louis shows up, I mean, we spent like 3 hours together a day. We trained 6 days a week in the beginning. Actually, it was 3.5 hours. So the beginning, he used to train 2-hour sessions with me, coming 45 minutes before and 45 minutes afterwards. So he's 3.5 hours in the gym. And so I explained to him as a young Luongo, I said, look, over the years, we're going to be transitioning to like, 1.5-hour sessions, and to 5 days a week, then to 4 days a week, then the 4 days a week, 1-hour sessions, then the 3 days a week, 1-hour sessions. And that's how we finished up, his career. It was like 3 days a week, 1-hour sessions. I said, as you become an older athlete, we need to think more about quality, not quantity with what we do. But, whenever he walked into my gym, it was always game on. Okay. So it's like, I don't know him to be anything other than serious. Okay. Mm-hmm. So people would tell me like, oh my God, Luongo's so funny and this and that. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
You talking about the same guy?
Yeah. I'm like, damn, like, is there something that I'm missing here? I'm like, I'm like, okay. People would tell me about jokes that he makes and stuff like that. And like, oh, you ever follow him on Twitter? I'm like, no. I'm like, so I started following him on Twitter, and I actually started seeing that side of him. That was pretty cool and stuff like that. And but we never had that kind of relationship because it was like
business.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm here to get better. And like I said, what's amazing with him is like we never. What am I trying to say? It's like
you never joked around. You were work the entire time.
Yeah, we worked, and he just did what I told him to do. He knew I was into it.
Do you think that was a secret to his success?
I believe that, having me in his pocket was a big deal because, when he was training with Vancouver, when he played for Vancouver,
he would come to you for the summers?
Yeah, so I'd ask his coach, his strength coach, Roger. I'm like, hey, Roger, what do you want me to work on with Louis this summer? He's like, look, man, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, okay? Right. He comes in ready. The important things are he doesn't get hurt, all this stuff. And so whatever you're doing, I don't want to mess with it. Just keep doing your thing, okay? And typically strength coaches, they send their guys off with a program. I got like all these different programs for all of these different teams and stuff like that. And I used to just kind of like throw them in.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're just like, oh, great, thank you, bye.
Yeah. I realized that my program works, and I'm like, I'm not here to teach you how to play hockey or football or baseball. I'm here to make you a better athlete. That's it.
How much of your training is as psychological versus physical, if you had to pinpoint a percentage? Because it's clear like you were messing with Jesse's mind in a positive way.
Oh yeah. Right? He didn't even know that.
No, the outcome was evident. Like he realized at the end.
Yes.
Right? We realized it in increments.
Yeah, and the last day I saw him, I threw a few things at him, and I was like, look, no matter what's going on in your head, don't voice it, okay? Other people don't need to hear your negativity and stuff like that. If you got some negative shit go on, fucking swallow that shit and dump it, okay?
Does that apply to everything else in life? Would you say the same thing to everybody?
Yeah, because you don't want to, I explain to the kids all the time. I says, if 50 of y'all are standing in front of me and one of you turns your head to the side and everybody else's eyes are locked on me, you don't think I'm going to see you? Okay, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. Okay? So if I got everybody around me being positive and then you're rolling your eyes or something like that, I'm like, oh, who's this little bitch? You know? And so I'm like, don't do that. You can't, don't think that we don't see everything. The person who is standing in front of you, okay, we see everything because everyone else has a certain look on their face. And if you have a different look on your face, it's easy to pick you out, you know? So it's like, just don't be that person, man. Be that person that's like, yo, come on, flip the switch, game on. Like I said, Luongo, I know him personally. I know his kids from they were born. I went to his wedding, everything. I mean, that's my dude, his wife would complain, like, you spend more time with my husband than I do, because on Sundays we would go riding together for like 4 hours and he would damn like kill me. But, because he wanted to get into cycling and stuff. But yeah, it was like, I mean, it was just game on when we're together, and I feel like he fed off of my personality and, and vice versa and stuff like that. And, I knew that this was business, like, hey, okay, you're a badass goalie, bro. We're going to make you one of a kind. Yeah.
No, really. I mean, we can't understate that. I mean, there is playing professional athlete, being a professional athlete and then having a career as a professional athlete, because most of these athletes have really short careers for so many reasons, right? Because there's so much competition. Every minute somebody's jockeying for your job. And then, being a Hall of Famer means that you were the best of that small amount of people that were the best in their craft. And there is so much that goes into that. And he's talking about you in his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah.
You must have been blown away by that.
Oh, man. It's just like my smiles are just like, it was just funny because now I'm seeing that character of who everyone always talked about, because I never saw it in the gym. I mean, we were serious. People were terrified. I mean, my clients, not my clients, the other trainers' clients, because my clients, they know me. They know there's that hard shell that you see out there, but then when they're one-on-one with me, they know that I also have that other side, I'm empathetic with them and stuff like that. But everybody else thinks that I'm just like this animal. And I'm like, why do people think I'm the nicest person I know? I'm like, I don't know anybody nicer than myself, And I'm like, why does everybody think I'm so mean and so horrible and this and that? And like, oh my God, you see the way he yells at Luongo? You see the way he like treats those kids that he trains and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's why they went D1. Yeah, they started when they were 13 years old. Yeah, that's why this girl went pro tennis. I mean, like, they come here because they want to go next level. I mean, they told me that.
It is one of my biggest fears as a parent is to raise soft kids, because the privilege that my kids have is way beyond the privilege that I had. And the privilege that I had was way beyond the one my parents had. And we as people strive for more. And our ground is what our parents' ceiling was. So they try to give us the most, and then we take that and we bring in more. And then it's right. But we create a generation of soft kids that can hide behind instant gratification on us, whether it be on a screen. People can bully other people where they don't have to, look at them in the eye and maybe have to get into an altercation where they have to defend themselves. And I talk with my wife, and we're both eye level to that. Like, I mean, we try to, first of all, model good behaviors, but some adversity is good. Like, this move to Florida is a huge move. Like, it tests everything, all your relationships, building brand new ones. Some adversity for the kids is good, but like you need that. And if you want to achieve anything, and I think Dana White, said it, he goes, if you're willing to be even a little bit of a savage, you will eat everyone's lunch, because everybody's so soft.
Oh, easily. And it's really bothers me. I prefer to train girls nowadays as opposed to boys.
Why?
I just feel like the parents are just raising like soft boys, and
What do you mean by that? Can you tell me? I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
I also find that when someone hears about me and it's like, oh, you should send your son to train with Manny and this and that, and then they might like see something with my personality. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to have my boy around him. He seems like he's like really scary and like like he's gonna I don't know, he's gonna do something to my kid, like hurt my kid. And but yet the parents with the girls are like, I want my daughter in there with this guy because I want her to be tough. I want her to be the best that she can be, and and stuff like that. And, I don't know. I just find that,
man, isn't that telling about where society's headed to and how we've emasculated boys and we've encouraged females, where we should be just encouraging everybody?
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, man. I have this constant struggle, and it's like, if you have a perspective that isn't within like what I consider, this new woke ideology, or like, I'm not trying to separate between boys and girls. I think they could be elite in what they do in every aspect. We're programmed differently, but like, holy wow, I totally get it. And it's like, yes, encourage those girls to do everything they can, and then more, because they're capable.
They work harder. They work harder.
Yeah, you think they're easier? They're more malleable.
You know what? The boys, they get in a pissing contest all the time. So that messes them up right there, because they're not focusing on what they need to do. So they actually, cause themselves not to get better, because they're always worrying about whether or not they're going to be better than the person to the left or the right. But the girls are like cheerleaders for each other. I'm sure deep down inside they're competing against each other as well. But they don't show it. They don't show it at all. They're like, oh, come on, good job, high fives and this and that. I'm like, wow, I like this arena. Whereas the boys, if you come into my gym and you start to be a bully, or you start talking smack and stuff like that,
you smack them
your
back.
shit, bro.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's like, you do not want to do that in my gym. And I warn you. I said, look,
have you ever kicked anyone out of your gym? Said, this isn't the home for you, be gone?
I've never had to, because they usually just don't come back.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I let them know. I said, you see that switch on the wall? And I let them know this right in front of their parents, And I said, you can either have this Manny, or you can have this Manny. And I flipped the switch. And I said, the problem is, if you're in a group and you flip the switch for the other Manny, you affect everybody else. Okay? So do you want to be that person that sets the pace for everybody else and get the other Manny? Okay? Because I said, there's a side of me that you don't want to come out. Okay? Not that I'm going to hurt you, okay, or anything like that, but it's not going to be a comfortable environment. And that's usually when that happens, then they don't come back. And I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Because I'm just not going to have you affect everybody else. So if you have to leave in order for everybody else to continue to grow, that's fine. You just weren't meant to be here. And it's the same with adults and stuff like that. You're either going to see me loving on everybody else, and then, damn, why does Manny not talk to me? Well, because you're an asshole. So either you comply to how we roll around here, or you leave.
What if you just can't keep up? Like, I'm thinking to myself, if I walk in and you ask me to run, I haven't run in ages. I'm having back problems. And I can't keep up. You'd be like,
you see me shaking my head, okay? That's where you got to have respect for me, from a standpoint of like, I'm not just this personality, okay? I have, education in what I do, and I understand crawl, walk, run, and I take everyone through crawl, walk, run. Even some of my pro athletes come in, they're like, dude, I'm good. I'm like, yeah, okay, but this is the way I do things, okay? So I'm not going to go 0 to 60 with you, okay? You've been off for 2 weeks. You just finished a season for like 9 months and stuff like that. Just let me do what I do, okay? In so many words, I've had some of my pros that I've had to express that to. And, they want to talk their smack for a second. I'm like, all right, I just continue on doing what I do. If you want to leave, that's your problem, okay? I'm not going to change the way I do things because you have a personality of like, what are you doing, or whatever. I'm going to make sure that you're in a safe environment. I'm going to make sure I bring you up safely. So that's where you don't have to worry at all. I'm not going to make you do something that is going to not make you feel, like you can achieve success.
Look, my mind goes in 10 different ways. Like I sometimes I have this saying that sometimes I wish for people I don't like or my enemies, and I don't want to get negative with it, to be in my mind for a second. But every once in a while, I get this like burst of like gratitude and happiness, more so since I moved to Florida, and this year has been the toughest. And in this podcast, what you don't realize is the impact that you've had on not only just the athletes, but the families. Like my brother, my sister-in-law, my mom, my in-laws are all going to listen to this. And specifically my brother and sister-in-law are so grateful to the fact that Jesse had met you. Also the network of people that he met inside your studio, like-minded professional athletes, they're all with you. You're like this, I don't want to say a hidden gem because everybody knows about you, but not enough people know about you at the same time, right? And we're going to change that. But like your place is slammed, but the network of people, of like-minded people that are positive and thinking like you, and then bringing each other up, and then pushing each other at the same time. You don't know how meaningful what you've done for him, and I look at Jesse also as and my other nephews the same way. They have skills bases somewhere else. One is incredibly talented, going to be a doctor. The other one is going to be an architect or planner. Like I look at them, and they're going to be who my kids are going to look up to because they're going to have the choice. So it's important, and Jesse being one of them. Like it's not just athletics that's important. It's like personal fitness, personal happiness, your internal happiness. And you really, I don't want to say changed him because he was always who he was. He was just dealing with some baggage.
Yes,
you just kind of like
tweaked him.
Yeah, and you change the station and the dial a little bit towards something.
Flip the switch.
Yeah, and it's really really incredible. How long you been doing this?
30 years and 8 months.
Shit, so you started when you were 2?
Actually 3. Yeah, no, I've been doing this a long time. It kind of blows my mind a bit, to think about how long it's been and stuff. But yeah, no, I love what I do. I legit, realize that I make a difference in people's lives, and that's what drives me. Because it's like I know that, I know how many people I'm affecting just from that one person, especially when I leave those voice messages. Whenever I'm dealing with like a kid, I make sure that mom and dad are on the voice message as well, because I want to hit home with everybody. I want to change that whole family.
I saw something today. I went in for PT for my back after a gout flare up, and all part and parcel. Saw a guy walk out with a kid who was probably around my son's age, and I think they're working out together. And he says to his son, "That was a good workout, right?" And his son was looking at him and was like, "Yeah." And I'm thinking, that's incredible. The message, the time you're spending with your kid, what you're reinforcing, body health, and that's all within your home. So yeah, you're changing, people, but you're creating an atmosphere of modeling, which is incredible. Like it's a pretty incredible place. I don't know why you don't have 1,000 locations throughout the United States and Canada yet.
Man, this one location drives me nuts.
Well, we'll work on that. Well, it's called scaling.
Yes. I got to tell you something funny. Actually, I was telling somebody today, as we were starting to put the jerseys back up on the wall and stuff, because we just finished painting and stuff. And I was telling him about how I met Luongo, and then I went out to watch Luongo one summer while all the NHL guys were getting ready to get back into to go to camp and stuff like that. And I'm sitting on the bleachers at the practice rink, and everybody's coming off the ice, and all the NHL guys are just walking by me. Not one of them even made eye contact with me for a second. This is when Jokinen was captain of the Panthers. And Louis still on the ice because, he's a goalie. He's like just, getting his stuff situated before he gets off. And Jokinen looks at me and it's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, I'm Louis' trainer. I'm Manny. He's like, "You train Louis, you train me." Dead serious. That was it. That was our interview. That was our introduction. And then 11 years later. Okay. Wow. And He's so funny. He's so cool. He says, Manny, I'm going to train with this guy in Canada while my kids are finishing up school. I'm going to train with him to get ready for my training with you. And I'm like, and he says, I told him that as well. I says, I'm going to train with you to get ready for Manny. And I'm like, he's so straightforward. It's so cool. And then one summer, he's skating around with the Panthers and all the other NHL guys that are getting ready. And Kulikov, you know,
Dmitry Kulikov?
Yeah, Dmitry goes to someone and he's like, hey, man, how the hell is Jokinen in such great shape, man? He's like freaking killing all of us, you know? And he's like older than us. And he's like, oh, you know, here he trains with some guy named Manny. And he's like, well, can I get this guy Manny's name? You know, and then so that's how I started training Cooley. And then here's Luongo in Winnipeg. And apparently I heard something about like the GM was like, dude, I was, you know, not Luongo, Jokinen is in Winnipeg. And it's like, you know, man, how is Jokinen in such great shape all the time? And it's like, oh, I heard he works out with some guy in Florida named Manny. And it says, oh, isn't that where Trouba lives in the off season? You know, and it's like, yeah, well, make sure you connect Trouba with this guy, Manny. So, you know, everybody, I don't watch sports at all.
Would you say it's more NHL guys that train with you? Because I know you have NFL, you have baseball, any basketball?
Yes. I got to tell you, I like my NHL guys. So
why?
They're just a lot nicer. They're just easier to deal with. They're more family oriented. They don't have a chip on their shoulder. I don't have any. I've had football players and, you know, I've had one NBA guy. But football players, they just have a chip on their shoulder. Like, they're just better than me.
Yeah, it's a different psychology. I mean, you gotta have, I think it's different. Like, there's psychology based on different sports. Like, football is a tough game, man. It's war all the time. Hockey would, I'd say, come a close second because there's no out of bounds and they're coming full force.
Oh yeah,
but you don't have like 6'8" guys, 340 running, you know, a quarter.
I've had those guys, you know. But yeah, no, I love my NHL guys, you know. And then so it's kind of funny. I'm training Kulikov, and he's like, Manny, let's spar. One day he's like, just straight up like, let's fight, you know. Let's and I'm like, okay. So we put the gloves on and we literally start like going at it with each other. And
headgear, or are you just going?
No headgear. We just go. We're talking Kulikov here, man. You know, and like, you know, fortunately, a lot of what he knew is what I've taught him over the years. So I was, you know, able to protect myself, you know. But you know, he doesn't care. And then here comes Trouba. You know, we're working on the same stuff, and Trouba's a little bit taller than me, so it's like, you know, we're going like 3 years. You know, we're doing the same thing Cooley's doing. Then it gets to the point where I don't even want to spar with either of them anymore.
Why?
You know, because they're starting to get like really good at this, and then we're starting to get into it. Now, I'm like 20-something years older than them, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'm not slowing down that much, but I'm like, man, I don't want to.
You don't need the.
I don't want to get punched in my face by these guys all day long, and it's not just one of them; it's multiple, you know. So I'm not just sparring with one of them; I'm sparring with, like, you know, several and stuff like that, and.
Is it just boxing, or do you guys like roll as well? I don't know if you.
No, it's just boxing, because, you know, I just work on stuff that they're gonna do on the ice. But then it's kind of cool to hear Trouba. They say he's like one of the most feared guys in the NHL.
Dude,
and I'm
that
like,
boy's a treat.
I'm like, you know where that started? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's like a freight train on the ice. Like, he's got some of the hardest hits. Yeah, that are out there. If you watch highlights, I mean, he's a highlight reel on its own. I'm pretty sure he's ended a couple of careers, that's for sure.
Yeah, no,
I
he's
mean,
a beast.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you don't realize how strong these guys, how lean they are, and then they're on skates. So like, whatever you think you're doing, running at them, triple that at least.
Right.
And if they get you full bore and your head's down, boom, lights out.
Yeah. So I'm just hearing about this stuff, you know, the other coaches like, hey, you got to see this.
I'm surprised you don't go to like every single Panthers game, but given that, I don't know what time.
Sports at all.
Seriously? You don't watch your product?
I will go to the games when they're here, in at the
They probably call you like, man, you got tickets for you.
Yeah, so when they come in town, I'll go.
Right.
Or when Luongo was here and Jokinen was here and all the guys that when they played on the Panthers, I would go to the games, you know. But I got a funny story with Kevin Durant. You know, one of my clients. He's
Train Durant?
No. This is one of my clients. He's the president of Rock Nation, and he says, "Hey man, you want to fly to New York with me and meet Jay-Z, and we'll go to Oklahoma and meet KD."
Cool.
And I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Who's KD?" He's like,
seriously?
He's like, "Are you fucking serious?" You know, he's like, "What do? Live on a freaking rock?"
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm like, "Does KD train here?" I'm like, I don't freaking need to know him. And I told him straight up, you know. So and then he's like Kevin Durant, and I was like, he's doing an exercise. I'm like, okay, who's Kevin Durant? He's like, "You're kidding me, right?" I'm like, "No, who's Kevin Durant?" You know, and he's like, "He's freaking basketball's MVP and this and that." It's like, dude, I don't believe you. I'm like, all right, well, cool, good for him, you know. So we go to Oklahoma and meet KD, and then I meet him another time, and you know, I said, "Hey, KD, you want to hear something crazy? You knew who I was before I knew who you were."
I can't believe you said that.
Oh, he's so cool. He loves it because I don't, you know, it was probably the fourth time I met him when there was like about 20-something pros there that were at a dinner, and they all started like lining up to take pictures with him. And I was like, you know what? Let me take a picture with you, and I'll send it to you and stuff, you know. But you know, and I think they like that. You know, I met him like several times and never even like asked to take a picture with him. Right?
You know what? I'm just realizing you don't get starstruck, man. To you, whether it's an 8-year-old girl or a 5-year-old boy or KD, like you've got a purpose. Yeah. You're going to fulfill that purpose. And if you start looking at them as anyone different, you're not going to be able to do what you do the right way you do it.
No. Yeah.
That is a very unique psychology, one that I wish more people would subscribe to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met some very influential people in different spaces. I very few times do I get like starstruck, but I do. For sure. It's happened to me more than once. But you don't know KD is. Like, all right, basketball, good. I'm floored by that, man. Yeah. How do people find you, and how can people connect with you?
www.121fitness. That's spelled out ONETOONE fitness.com. So I like people to check out my website so they can kind of see, you know, who we are, what we're about and stuff. But I have a phone number, 954-796-7001. I'm in Coral Springs, Florida. Yeah.
But you don't do just fitness. You do, like today I did something really cool in your place. I did red light therapy.
Right.
You do PT.
Yeah.
You got a whole bunch of things. You're not just a fitness studio. Like you do all kinds of things.
Yeah. So we have physical therapy. So, and we have recovery. We have a cold plunge. We have
You do? You have a cold plunge?
Yeah.
I'm also scared of that. I was gonna buy one, and I'm like, no, I can't do it.
You know what it is? You got to start yourself off easy. You know, I jumped into a cold plunge for the first time, and it was like, I think 41 degrees, and it was painful. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but there's the lady who owned the place. She's standing there in a bikini, and like, you know, she's like, "Oh, come on, stay in there for 90 seconds for me." And I'm like, "Okay, I will do that."
Why wouldn't you want to say that? I would have probably done 3 minutes.
Oh, trust me, just the whole 90 seconds. No, I went in there 3 more times after that. So
there's a study that just recently came out. I don't know if you heard about the effects of cold plunge and how the effects of the cold plunge releases all sorts of endorphins, growth hormone that lasts, like dopamine hit that lasts like hours after the fact, more so than any synthetic narcotic you can actually take. Yeah. It doesn't even come close to it, right? Sauna, heat, same thing. People like those health benefits are crazy. And it's really a simple thing to do. Cold plunge, I think it's like 11 minutes a week exposure that you need to do it. It's
just 3 minutes at a time, 3 minutes at a time. But, you know, the thing is, I was thrown into this thing at like, you know, I probably should have went in there like when it was like 49 degrees or something like that. At that low temperature, I'm not going to lie, the first experience, it hurt.
Like it physically hurt?
it physically, like, it was like, holy freaking smokes. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I've done things.
I'm gonna die.
Where I'm like, I'm going at it for like 54 hours straight, or, all these 24-hour, kind of events and stuff that I've done. And I'm like, I put myself into situations that's like, pretty crazy. And I'm like, damn, this 90 seconds was like, it just stopped all that stuff.
But when you get out, you kind of go back to square one, or is there any?
Yeah. So I after I did it, I was like, I wasn't satisfied. So I made sure that like, I just took a break for a second, and I did it 3 more times after that, because I wanted to get good at it. So
it's funny how things tie full circle. Just now dawned on me. There is a guy I did a podcast with here. His name is Nikita Krivokrasov. His dad also played in the show. He's a professional hockey player. He's retired now due to some concussions, but his coach was Olli Jokinen in first division in Finland.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing how that all kind of comes back full circle. Yeah. Manny, I will put this out there, so I'm going to be accountable. I will show up in your studio with, now my kids come back in a couple of days, so I have to find a way where I can balance the schedule with both my wife and I, because we both can't be away. Got to leave for the little one, so we'll work out a time. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful that I've met you. The podcast has, been incredible to meet and learn and study off of people in a genuine, authentic way. You're now part of our family. I'm sure you hear that a lot from a lot of people. Like, you've got virtually everybody that's in Florida trading with you under the last name Fishman, and I want everybody else to come by and visit. So it's online. Check out 1-to-1 Fitness. You put your phone number out there, which is pretty brave. I know it's not your personal cell. It's your work. If you had to put a billboard over your fitness studio, and it would get a chance to say anything about you or your journey or your studio, what would it say?
A billboard. Okay.
What do you want that message to be about what you think people need?
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Stay in your lane. Focus on who you are. Be a better person today than you were yesterday. Okay. Be better than, look to compete against yourself.
Right. Don't drown out the noise from people left and right. Just do you.
Do you.
Yeah.
Do you. Be better today than you were yesterday.
All right, brother. You're the best. Thank you so much for being on.